to the God is a Geek podcast. My name is not Adam Cook. My name is Chris White. Adam is not joining us today. He is having a lovely holiday at home. But we have got Mr. Gary Bailey.
Hello there.
Hey Gary, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Thanks for asking. I'm actually not doing too bad today, mate. I'm in my new house. I'm basically sat on a chair with a puff, resting my feet on it, and I'm chilled, mate. I'm chilled, so all good. Also, Mr. Adam Carroll, how are you doing, mate?
Let's see, we got the better Adam here today. The better Adam. Do you know Mr. Cook?
We have, but we shan't tell him. But
I'm very good. I'm very good anyway.
Good to hear, mate. Good to hear. Well, we've got quite a lot of news to talk about today, and some listener questions and that. But we've got some games to talk about, and obviously post E3. I'd say it's been slow since E3, but it was slow before E3 because, God of War kind of killed us all, and
it's a good time to catch up. A good time to catch up with stuff.
It is, yeah, it is. And there's been a few good games, and we'll start off with one that's obviously it's films out at the minute, and it's not based on the film, but it's I listen. Gary's been playing it and he's reviewed it, so I'll let Gary talk a bit more about it. But that's Jurassic World Evolution. So Gary, what's it like?
I'm just interested because I say evolution. It's interesting just that you say evolution. It's...
Evolution.
Yeah, but then I don't necessarily think about it. Yeah. Like sometimes I might say evolution. It's like Bowie. I say Bowie sometimes, and I'll say Bowie. It's not like potato or potato. Like if you say potato, you're a muppet. But potato is like that's the word you say. But evolution, I'll mix it up a bit. I might call it evolution in a bit. Who knows? But enough of pronunciation. What's it like to play?
It's brilliant. I had so much fun with it. It just, I think I mentioned it in the review. But it's like if anyone ever played Jurassic Park, Operation Genesis, which was on like the PS2 and Xbox.
PS2, yeah.
It's kind of like it's the evolution of that, I suppose.
Or the evolution.
I'm going to move past that. Move on, quick. Yeah, it's great that you just build your own Jurassic Park or Jurassic World, whichever way you want to go. But it's cool because you get 5 islands. What is it now? They're called Las Cinco Muertes, I think it's called.
Yes,
basically the 5 deaths. And you're like, that's a great name for them, but okay.
It's not ominous
at
all,
like,
is it?
We'll build some parks on that.
Yeah, why can't they call it the 5 Happy Lands or something? Just nice.
But
you're asking for fucking trouble.
The 5 islands where no dinosaurs ever murdered anyone. Nope.
Yeah. They all live nice and eat plants.
But it's great, because, the first island starts you off quite simple, and it's a bit of a tutorial island. But I found myself going back to island quite a bit, because you make quite a lot of money on that first island, and when you go to the next one, you don't carry any of that money over, which is a bit weird, but it kind of works. It's you start from scratch, and the second island though throws at you like storms, which can knock out your power and damage your fences and stuff like that.
Okay.
So it took me a few attempts to get that second island up and running, because at one point I didn't have, I forget what it's called, basically the team that deals with escaping dinosaurs. I didn't have the base for that at the time, and basically like 3 of my dinosaurs get out. Just legged it, and I think I'd spent probably about $500,000 developing those dinosaurs, and suddenly I was like, oh look, I've got 3 dinosaurs less and no money. How do I do this?
I feel that's quite cheap.
Yeah,
in the grand scheme of things, $500,000 to make some dinosaurs seems like ridiculously cheap.
It is.
I don't know. I just because you spend a lot on the buildings, don't you?
Yeah.
And then, to make actual dinosaurs, it's pocket money for you.
But it's quite cool though. Go for it.
I was just gonna say, I've played the tutorial. I've not really gone to any of the other 5 islands, so I'm kind of keen to know. Say you make some kind of some of the bigger dinosaurs, the carnivores. Let's just pick on the T-Rex. If that escapes, can that go and kill some of the guys? Do you see any animations of them attacking people?
Yeah, it'll kill.
Will it?
I mean, it's even quite.
And
good.
Is that from your own stupid mistakes, or does it just like randomly happen?
I mean, it can be either, really. I mean, if you've not built a fence strong enough, or if you've not put electrified fences on, and like you've put that on like a raptor, pen or something like that, or a T-Rex pen, you're not gonna have a good day, really. Luckily, you can build like your shelters, so if one does get out, you can open the shelters and people will run into there to escape any unfortunate death. But it's sometimes it can be, because at one point I found dinosaurs were escaping because they were just basically smashing in the fences, and that was how it taught me basically, no, okay, you're going to have to research these heftier fences. Luckily no one died at that point, but it was a pain because you're still having to then deal with it. But the best one was like when you unlock Isla Nublar, which was like the one for the island from the very first game, film, and Jurassic World as well, because that you go there and there is no money. Basically, it's a case of you don't have a limit; you have unlimited funds. It's just like built as a sandbox. The only thing is you can't do any of the research and stuff from that side, because it'd basically just break the game if you could do that. Because any research that you did do on the other islands will carry to any future islands. So you're not having to redo all the research to get a new T-Rex or whatever. You can then do, but so you're kind of limited in that way. But at any point, if you're just feeling like, I can't be bothered with the micromanagement and stuff of the other islands, or it's getting a bit too tough, you can just go, I'm just going to go there for a bit and just play and have fun. Just drive around in the Jeep if you want.
Can you drive around in the Jeep?
Yeah, you've got, the same with the helicopters as well. So you've got like your rangers that go in and they refill like your food dispensers and stuff like that. You can do the driving if you want.
Oh, that's cool.
And the same with the helicopter, when saying like one of them escapes and you've got to send the helicopter to go and tranquilize them. You can be the pilot, and you can even do the shooting as well if you want. But I was terrible at it. A moving target is not easy to hit when you're in a helicopter that's already not entirely stable.
Yeah, I can imagine.
What's the difficulty Gary, for this game? Is it like a tough building sim? Like, is there a lot to manage?
There is, but it's quite simple. Because, I mean, you kind of get into a rhythm after a while. Because you've got, like, your dig teams that you'll send out. And then you basically select where they'll go. And it'll cost you a certain amount, depending on how far they've got to go and what they're digging up, that kind of thing. Once they get back, you then go to like the DNA center, extract the DNA from whatever fossils they've found, or sell them if you need the money, and you just need to get a bit of funds. Then from there, it's a case of just going to, building a pen, or if you've got an existing one and you can add to it, you then go to there. You can then just develop the dinosaur. Once you have to have at least a 50% genome, and you get like so much percentage from each fossil that you get the DNA from. So it can take a few digs before you've got enough of a genome for then using that dinosaur. The downside is if you've only got a 50% genome, there's a higher chance of that the breeding not taking effect. So that, they won't survive, so you'll have to try again.
Do you have to, can you crossbreed? So, like, the Indominus Rex and that kind of thing. Can you create your own dinosaurs?
Sort
or is that just sort of?
It's like you'll get your genome and then you can then mess with it a little bit. So you can you have to research the various like changes and stuff like that. But once you've got it, you can then add stuff like shark DNA or
Okay.
that I think that was one that like boosts their immune systems and stuff like that. You can add various DNA to make them stronger. He just with each one that you add though, it makes the chances of the success as it's being successful less, basically. So you've got to kind of weigh it up a bit. And most dinosaurs do tend to be okay, but you do get like disease outbreaks and stuff like that. And if you've researched the cures already, you can send your ranger out, and then they'll they'll medicate them. Strangely, they do it exactly the same way as tranking them. They just shoot darts at them until they're well again.
Yeah. I can imagine it's pretty tricky to trank like carnivores, though.
Yeah.
So I suppose you kind of you have to medicate them in the same way.
Yeah, I mean, that was one thing. Like whenever I went, like now and again, I decide to do like the driving part. Like I drive in to do the, redoing the feeders and stuff like that. But whenever there was a carnivore one, I'm like, I'm gonna make sure he's over there before I go back through the gate. Because I mean, at one point there was one that stood watching me. As soon as I went through the gate, he charged. But luckily the gate shut in time. But it was just like, I'm not having him get out. Not on my watch.
Would
do you have go on?
No, I was about to say, would you consider this like the best Jurassic Park game you have played, and would it be like the ideal one that you would have wanted anyway? Because I was thinking when this was announced, I remember you saying that you were into it, and I was kind of. I looked it up and I was like, I don't know if I'm up for that kind of style of game for Jurassic Park. So I was in my head thinking, like, I would love to see, if I'm brutally honest, not a full-on survival horror, but a Dino Crisis Jurassic Park kind of thing to come back.
Oh man, that'd be amazing.
I think there's if I'm honest, the person I want to do it for some weird reason is Rocksteady. I would love Rocksteady to just take on Jurassic Park and create the survival horror kind of style game in like Dino Crisis kind of mode. Because I think the T-Rex thing, every time in Jurassic Park, it's insane. It's just every time T-Rex appears, I'm just like, holy fucking shit, it's so cool. And I always want that. Like when I play Dino Crisis, I remember just like losing my mind at seeing that on the screen. The size and the scope of it all, you know? Like, is that in this? Do you see the dinosaurs, or do they just look like little things, like little small fast things running around the place? Or
they look like they do in the films. Like, you know, when you get like the T-Rex, or you know, when you get like the raptors coming out, or even stuff like the Triceratops. Every time you release a new dinosaur into a pen, you get a little like cutscene kind of thing where it goes down to the door opening, they come out, and you can even name them as well if you want. But I was like, I don't want to do that because they're going to die and then I'm going to feel sad. So I'm not going to name any of them.
You're too connected to them. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
But I mean,
I've got a question for you.
Go on.
If that's all right. Is Mr. DNA in it?
Yes, sort of.
Is he?
Mainly because he is there as a character, but he doesn't. Like, I never saw him there as like speaking to me or anything like. Because your tutorial is all kind of handled by other characters. I mean, it starts off narrated by Jeff Goldblum, so you know it's an automatic win.
It's very satisfying.
That sounds great.
Yeah, it's great because he makes jokes because obviously he's in character. He's Ian Malcolm, and he's obviously experienced some issues with.
Yeah, he's been through a bit of a time, hasn't he?
And it's he does make jokes, like when he first says you're on Elam Huertas, and it's like it's named the Island of Death or something to that effect, and he jokes about that. You know, it's just like he knows, he's been there. He knows exactly what happened on those islands.
Yeah,
that's cool.
But it's quite the only other downside is that there's only two other of the characters actually voiced by the real people. Like BD Wong does Henry Wu, who kind of appears now and again, and then you've got Bryce Dallas Howard is in playing Claire again. But
yeah,
I'm assuming they just couldn't afford to get Chris Pratt in. Because
that's clearly not Chris Pratt doing the voice.
Yeah, it's like they've got his picture, but it's
is there
his voice.
Any Sam Neill, no?
No, like him and Laura Dern are only like you can go into like there's essentially a big encyclopedia in there. It unlocks various like characters and stuff like that, and they're in there, but it doesn't even have their pictures next to their names. It's like it's a picture from Jurassic Park, but it's not got them in it. So obviously they've only got a certain amount of license there, I'm guessing.
Okay, fair enough.
But it never sort of detracts from it. It's still because it's not really about the characters and stuff like that, except Ian Malcolm, because Ian Malcolm. It's more just about building a park. It's kind of separate to the stories, if you know what I mean. Because other than these events have happened, it's not like this is a new story in the Jurassic Park world or anything. It's just this is build your own park, have fun.
Yeah. So there's not too much to unravel.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah, very good. Impressed.
You reckon?
Impressed.
Yeah.
See, Adam's not the only one that could do good segues.
Fair play, Chris. Fair play.
I'm back. Yeah. No. So Unravel 2. It got announced at the EA Play thing just before E3, but it wasn't a part of E3. But it felt like it was. Unravel 2 hit the stores that night. We got code literally that night. And like, have any of you played the first one?
Nope. No, I never
unfortunately
got around to
not.
So
I've heard mixed things.
I think Colin reviewed it for us.
He did, yeah.
And he gave it a 5.5 or a 5.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people giving it higher. I actually think he got it right. I think the first one, it wasn't that great. It looked very nice and there was a lovely kind of message to it. But some of the puzzles were a bit naff and it wasn't very engaging. The second one, Unravel 2, is actually quite good. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I think I gave it a 7 or something. And the actual inclusion of another Yarny works really well. Like, you can play with somebody on co-op or you can just play it on your own. It doesn't really matter. Playing with someone else makes it a lot tougher because you're having to kind of synchronise what you do. Like, with someone else or on your own, you've got the ability to like kind of act as an anchor, where you'll stand on the ledge and then you'll switch players, and then the other one can jump down. And if you're on the edge of like a branch, the other one can swing down under the branch, then swing back over and like jump a distance. So that helps you get from points a lot faster. But there's also things you use them for to help with building bridges and stuff like that, and kind of you distract a pigeon at one point, and that's good because you could use your other Yarny to kind of it's game of the year, moment of the year, mate. At the end of the year discussions, I'll tell you now. But I just really enjoyed it. It kind of flows really well, and the different levels are really kind of beautiful. They're like photographic almost. The visuals are very kind of
that's not something I'd expect from a game like Unravel, like that kind of realism, because it seems like the sort of game that would be more cartoony.
Yeah. I mean, it's very realistic. Like the way you move from across the screen, it's kind of like what's the game? Inside, where you see stuff in the background, but you can't actually interact with it. Or like Abe's Odyssey, going back old school. There's a lot of kind of stuff happening in the background. It's kind of 3D, but kind of not. Like you're kind of in 2D, but the behind you isn't. And you go through like forests, and there's like you go through some streets, and there's cars driving towards you, and like park benches, and as I said, pigeons. Fucking, there seems to be like an ungodly amount of pigeons. So I might have just been remembering that wrong. But there's kind of a lot going on, and it you do kind of just look at it and just it's good for an indie studio to kind of get that amount of detail in, and it works really well with the level design. And the puzzles aren't necessarily difficult. Some are a bit tricky, but as I said earlier, like with two people, it's a lot harder because Like if I see a puzzle, I'll just be like, right, I'm going to do this with this one. I'm going to go over here with that one. But if it kind of takes a bit more time when you're playing with someone else. But it's decent. It's a decent game, and you absolutely don't need to play the first one to play this. So if you've never played the first one,
in terms of like, see, I was really surprised when the first game came out. I remember a lot of people were just very excited. It looked incredibly charming. It looked like a fun platformer, and this character seemed interesting in its cuteness, I suppose. But when the reviews were very mixed, it definitely, like, not that this should be the case, but it definitely didn't. It stinted me wanting to play the game kind of ASAP, you know?
Yeah.
And when 2 got announced, I kind of was a bit surprised considering how people were kind of so lukewarm in the first one. But when they showed the overall trailer just before they announced it's out tonight or whatever, I thought like every location that they were showing in that quick trailer looked unbelievable. I thought it just looked like such an entertaining game. But what is it? What is the main issue? Is it just that it's not doing enough in terms of its gameplay, or is it just a bit meh? I've done this a million times. I'm just getting through point A to B kind of thing. Like, why doesn't it get the full love, basically? Like, is it?
I think with the first one, the puzzles, as I said, they were a bit kind of dull, and they're a bit repetitive. They weren't always the best designed, and they weren't very well explained. I think this one's just got its act together with the fact that there are two of the Arnies. It means you can do more things, and the puzzles flow a lot better. And there's spaces where you just run in and jump in and avoiding things, as opposed to like every kind of screen there's a new puzzle to do that requires a lot of thinking. I think it just works a lot better. And as I said, I keep saying flowing, but you just go through a level quite quickly. About 20 to 30 minutes. Most of the levels are, and it's quite a short game. But I think any longer and it would ruin it a bit. And I also think the fact that Coldwood Studios, like, their first mainstream introduction was like at the E3 when Unravel came out, and everyone kind of fell in love with the guy, the director. Is it the director behind it who did that? Yeah, where he looked really nervous on stage.
Yes.
It was kind of really kind of honest and open, and that is what indie studios must be like. It's their baby, so they are nervous, and they've put everything into that, and they haven't got massive backings of studios, bar Coldwood, obviously, EA. But just there was a lot riding on it, and I don't think it necessarily hit the first one, but I think this one, it is more of the same, but there are certain parts which do kind of lull a bit, but in general, it's certainly worth giving it a go. I mean, I'm not sure what the cost is, but
it's like $20.
Well, I think that's very reasonable for what it is.
Yeah,
I think it's certainly. I mean, the thing with both games, they have like a weird story that links them with like real people in the background. Like, they're not necessarily shadows or silhouettes or anything. They're kind of distorted images of people, and this one features it's not entirely clear, but it's like two kids have ran away from home or an orphanage or something, and you're following the guys trying to catch them, and as you go through the story, you can unravel their story as well by doing certain puzzles to kind of see a bit more of that story, which is fine. It doesn't really add a lot to it, because the main crux of the game is the puzzles themselves, and that's. But it's good, man. It's certainly worth giving it a go at some point. I'd probably wait for it's reduced, because
I thought
there's a lot coming out.
Yeah, I really thought that when they announced 2 that they were going to like say, oh, it's out tonight, and also it's like there's a discount on the first one, or it's free.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people still haven't played the first one. I know you're saying you don't have to, but I think I'm very OCD about those kind of things. I have to play. I can't just jump in, even though it doesn't need to be like.
I think you'd be. I know what you're saying, but there's a very small tutorial at the start which tells you like how to jump or how to wrap your yarn around something to create a bridge, or how to swing. It is very straightforward, and there's no real links to the last one apart from the yarn itself. But it's so kind of on its own that it quite easily you could pick it up and just start playing.
But
I mean, this is the thing about the Xbox as well. If you had an Xbox, you'd be able to go on EA Play and no, sorry, what is it? What's the EA Access thing on? Is it EA Access, Gary?
Yeah.
EA Access, they've got Unravel on there for free. You pay $3.99 a month and you could play it there, and then I'm sure you'll have this on there. You can play like you can play the whole game in 10 hours. But I certainly think, I mean, I'm sure Unravel will be in the sale on PS Plus,
does it
now, or
does it ever give a reason why the 2 is written out in text and not a number? Because it bothers me.
No, I know. It's a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, I don't think it does. I think it's more to signify there's 2 Yarnies as opposed to a sequel. That's the only thing I'll think of. But no, it doesn't.
Is there also a reason? Is there also a reason why the original character guy has like 3 horns on his head as opposed to 2? Or is that just...
Well, there doesn't have to be 3 because you can customise them now.
Oh,
but yeah, I think you customise them with the last one. But you can, if you don't want them to have 3 horns, you don't want to have 2. They can have 3. There's a different head with three horns on it. You can turn them from red to purple if you want.
Like, that's a bit weird. It's a bit weird.
Yeah, it is
to have that in this kind of game for the length that it is and stuff. There's no, and it kind of. I think when you're...
It's arbitrary. It's not really worth it.
Yeah, it's that. But also when you play this kind of game, these kind of games are... The selling point is its character. It's this little thing, It's like... So when you start messing it up, I don't think the chemistry stays the same or something. But I was just going back there before we move on from this, right? You were saying about how it gives you instructions on how to, like, jump and throw the yarn or whatever, right? Do you think... Yeah. It would have been a better move if they just never did that. If they just completely cut that out of the game and discover it yourself. Do you think that would have made the puzzles a bit more of a thing?
I don't know, because when you put some yarn around, like, I don't know, a twig, and then you go over and do it to another twig. I would not know that you could do that, because when you have to hold in the square button to tie the yarn around it, and the kind of animation isn't exactly clear that's what you're doing. Like, if you were to just press square, it wouldn't do it, so you have to kind of hold it in. And it's not necessarily that obvious that you would be doing that. Like, jump, pretty obvious, press cross. And then also, like, to stand on the edge, you will hold L2 and then press triangle to switch characters, and then you would kind of launch your way down. You wouldn't necessarily know how to do that. And there's other times where you build like a kind of like a bridge high up. So you would climb as one Yarny, hold square to tie it, and then you have to kind of hold in L2. I think it's L2, and then press triangle to switch your character. Then they will go up to the other twig. If you switch back, you drop down without having to hold in L2 before you did it. So you wouldn't necessarily know to do that. So I think with most of it, a bit of prior knowledge is going to help you kind of get it. But as I said, it's only very short, the tutorial is. It's kind of like, here's this. Now solve the game yourself.
Yeah.
So it takes like a couple of minutes to learn those, and then you've kind of got them for the rest of the game. So it's very kind of intuitive, the tutorial, and it doesn't last very long at all.
So it's just not incredible, is it?
Oh my snap!
There we go. On a roll, boys.
Yeah.
On a roll.
Yeah, we are on a roll. So, The Incredibles Lego, quite a left field choice. I wouldn't have expected The Incredibles to be made into a Lego game, but it is. Gary, you've even played it, mate.
Yeah.
And you're a fan of the Lego games, aren't you?
Yeah, I don't mind them. They're quite good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love The Incredibles.
Well, that's lucky, because I don't.
I can't remember them. I can't remember the first Incredibles movie at all. Like, at all.
I just remember Jason Lee was the voice of the ginger villain.
Yeah.
That's like...
Yeah.
Or I remember the dad picks up a car in front of a kid.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. That's my synopsis.
That's what you remember.
Go fucking watch Incredibles.
Jesus
Boom!
Christ.
Out now. But But like, I fucking adore like Pixar. Like, I absolutely adore it. But Incredibles, I just never got on with it. But that's not to say it's not a great film, because there's a lot to it. Like, it's a good film,
as far as I'm concerned.
Really? See, I think WALL-E is the best Pixar film.
Hey! I think Toy Story 3.
Oh mate, that is such a. I remember before when I went to see it. I remember everyone, because I watched it because I work at a cinema. You think I get to watch films a lot quicker than everyone else, but everyone was coming out saying, "Oh, it's really sad. You'll be crying. And at the very end, I never cried. Like, spoilers, when Andy gives the toys to Bonnie, I was like, I felt nothing. It was the bit when they're all like sat together and they all going into that like
furnace,
about to be incinerated.
Yeah,
and like there's a moment when they all look at each other and they all the moment of realization that they're going to die, and it's like that broke me.
Yeah,
like that was just savage.
Yeah.
But that's what
how emotional Toy Story made us.
Yeah. We can save that for the pages.
We can tie this in a little bit.
Go for it.
Because you can unlock other Pixar characters.
Uh-huh.
What?
It's quite cool.
What?
When you've got like between your missions, you've got like your open world city that you go around, which is kind of like the thing with the Lego games. Now they all have like a hub level, and within that, there's like zones, and districts. Sorry, that's a better way. Each district they have like a crime wave, and when that happens, you go in. It gives you little missions to do to stop the crime wave. Once you do that, it unlocks a Pixar family build. And the family build is like a new thing they've added to this, where you'll find these Incredi bricks. Yep.
Incredi bricks.
That's a good word. Yeah. Well done, Disney.
And once you've got enough, you can then do this build where it's like the whole family together. And it's a little bit awkward because you have to keep tapping circle and get all four of them, or up to four of them, to the top, and then make sure they don't drop the like a bar. And it's just it's a little bit unnecessary. It should just be tap the button for just one bar and that'd be it. Especially when it's for kids, and some kids are just going to be like, why am I doing this?
They get bored.
But other than stuff in the main game, you have these that'll unlock. Once you've done the crime wave for each district, it unlocks the Pixar build, and then you do that, and it unlocks the character for that build as well. Like the first one I did was Dory, who can then like you can go to like the harbour and swim under the water, and there's other bits down there. It's cool. I didn't expect like Merida rocked up at one. Well, she was one of them. I was just like, I mean, there's I don't think it's ever going to be normal. But you're in this city of people, and I've got a fish swimming around in a bubble on land, or you've got Merida running around with a bow and arrow.
Oh wow!
Why not?
Has the Lego games like have they ran their course? Like I gave up after The Force Awakens. I played it, and I was kind of in my head going, I'm really excited because I remember I was after seeing the movie, and I was all about Star Wars again. That buzz was there. But Lego games, I actually find them very confusing at times, because there's so many moments where I'm switching between characters, and I'm just pressing the button and moving the cursor around, trying to figure out if they'll just like attach to something. I find the layout very unusual in Lego games. Like, is it just the same old thing in this, with just like tacking on extra little fun nods to other movies?
Yeah, the gameplay is not really any different. I think that Lego does kind of need to try something new. Because I thought I liked Lego Worlds.
At this stage, they should.
Yeah, like Lego Worlds was a good sort of change of pace. But even that, like the gameplay, you still have that thing of smashing things to get studs, And
to be fair, did you ever play Lego City Undercover?
Oh yes, that was very
Undercover
good.
was very
that
good.
That was a really good Lego game.
To be fair, this Incredibles game does use a bit of that as well. It's almost like like they mashed together Lego City and Lego Marvel. You know, because you've got stuff like the crime solving and stuff like that of the Lego City game, but you've got like the superpowers, and each character has their own special abilities, like fire or ice, or like one of them can take control of other characters, like using like mind control. And so even like when you create your own, like you can create your own superheroes and give them the whatever powers you want. Well, from the selection you're given, obviously. But it's a lot of fun, I think. But I think it's going to be more fun for like kids, and cause I think like kids playing it, they enjoy it. You know, they don't like, we kind of get bogged down in like, okay, I've played this before, basically. Whereas I think they're just like, I like this. Not all of them, obviously, because that's kind of belittling them, and that's not what I'm about.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's it's. I think it's just that we kind of see it differently a lot of the time, and I've enjoyed a lot of these games. This I enjoyed a bit more purely because I like The Incredibles. Although oddly, it starts off, you play through the new film, and then it unlocks the original, which didn't make sense to me, because it's kind of like, why wouldn't you just do it in order? You know, but it, that's neither here nor there. It was just an odd thing. Although it was a little irritating, because it's like, the film isn't out over here yet. I'm like, I kind of know a bit about it now. But
so you've got like the ending sort of thing, or does it? I
mean, having not seen the film, I can only assume it doesn't go fully into it. Like, because I mean, the other Lego games have done that, like the Lego Star Wars, the Lego Jurassic World, and stuff like that. They just leave it a little bit more subtle, so you get the same kind of experiences, but you're not learning the precise nature of everything. I think it's just giving away a couple of minor plot points within it. Although if the film goes the way the game does, it's fairly obvious anyway. So it's not like they've gone, hey, this is exactly how the film ends, like they used to do with game tie-ins, where it basically gave you the actual film just as a game in game form, and you'd be pissed off if you played that early.
Do you think, though, like you were saying there about like kids with these Lego games, like I was just thinking to myself, like, how is the younger generation really into the Lego games still, considering like Fortnite is there and stuff, and Minecraft? Like, how, like, I feel the Lego games are really going into like the 4 and 5 year old territory, you know? Like, I think 10 and 11 year olds, they still play them too, but I think they're playing it because their mother or father isn't letting them get a game that's over 12s or something that's over 16s, do you know what I mean? So they get a Lego game because The Incredibles are on the front of it, and this is it, you know? Yeah. I'm curious as to, like, because I know for us, for adults and for people, like, we're kind of nerds anyway into this kind of stuff, we'd have fun with these things. But I don't think kids have patience because they know what they can actually have. So I'm wondering how much longer look, Lego isn't going away it's not going anywhere at all. But I'm just saying that the games itself, has it just become a thing where the Lego actually do realise that they only have a kind of a certain market, there's a couple of old people buy it, and then it's very young. And is it that mentality is not making them change the game all that much, just adding in new bits and pieces? And I think, like, there's so many Lego games now at this stage that when it first came out, I did find it a lot of fun. I did think it was very humorous. I thought it was charming. But then as it kept coming out, it became a thing where, it's just the same, but it's a Lego Lord of the Rings game, and I love Lord of the Rings, so I'm going to get that one this time. But
that one was really good, though.
Yeah, but then like the Avengers one comes out, and I'm not really into the Avengers, so I kind of let that one slide. That's where I feel that these games have kind of gone. And I would like to see them, because I think with regard Lego City Undercover, I thought that was brilliant. I thought it was very funny.
Yep.
I've never played Lego Worlds, but like, how did Lego Worlds do? Was that a new, fresh take? Do you think they were trying to play with that and see?
Yeah,
can they change the formula?
It was essentially a Lego Minecraft.
Yeah.
Just a little bit more. There was a little bit more awkwardness, a little bit more fiddliness to the building.
Yeah.
But there was more adventure, I think. Like, there was a lot of exploration involved as well, and
yeah,
you kind of had infinite worlds that you could then explore and unlock new things, because you could go into other people's created worlds. Not with them in it, although I can't remember if you could do that or not, whether it was like multiplayer that way, but you could, like, people could upload their worlds, you could go visit, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think, they obviously still sell, because that's why. I think,
in a
way, I think it's a bit like the Telltale stuff. They're really, they're growing tiresome now. But
it's funny that you say the Telltale, yeah.
They still sell, and they still kind of... It's like they don't do anything different, but they change the license, or they do a they're doing something else with... I don't know, just a slightly different take on things. And I think that's kind of all that the Lego games are doing as well. But I'd like to see both Traveller's Tales and Telltale games, because it's very, similar names. I'd like to see them both just kind of branch out a little bit. Even if they still keep the same licensors and a similar formula. Stuff like, for the Lego games, like Lego Worlds and Lego City, show that you can change it up a bit. Do something new. You don't even always need a license, try something original as well. Lego's Lego.
I know.
Everyone loves Lego. So if you do something right, change it a little bit so that you bring in a new audience as well, I think it's kind of time for that.
Yeah.
But I just don't know how receptive people will be to it, whether they're just like, Lego's kind of... The Lego games are all the same now. I'm not bothered.
Yeah. Well, look, to be honest, if I'm honest, like, Lego don't really, like, wreck things, you know what I mean? lads, I went there. I tried it. I'm on a roll.
I kind of got a twinge then, because I thought there was a Wreck-It Ralph Lego game being announced. I thought I'd missed that on the news bit. I was like, what? But I have no idea what Wreckage is about, so someone's gonna have to enlighten me.
Wreckfest.
No,
it's
Wreckfest.
Wreckfest.
See, I don't even know the fucking name of the game is. So you tell me that.
You remember Flat Out? Not the one that was released like a year or two ago that was garbage. The original ones that were on like PS2 and Xbox. Those guys have made a new game. It's been in early access for a while. Originally, it was just called Next Car Game, and it was kind of a bit.
Jesus Christ, that's a bad name.
Yeah, it was literally just a placeholder name where they were like, "We don't know what we're going to call it. Let's just put it out as early access."
That's just zero fucks given. That's just like they've just been developing, and they just turned to each other in the office and went, "You know what? Fuck this Next Car Game. I don't care anymore. I don't care."
But it's like it's essentially Destruction Derby.
Okay.
That's it. I'm sold.
I'm too. I'm interested.
Yeah, it's so much fun. I mean, the racing itself, like, because you've got like your normal racing, like the Destruction Derby games had. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the Dirt games, because it's like it's realistic but not so much. Like there's a kind of bit of a balance between the arcade and realism. So you need to brake for corners, but it's not like, oh, I have to brake at a certain distance like you do in stuff like Forza or Gran Turismo. It's just it's just kind of common sense stuff. But I mean, the destruction's ridiculous. With like the way
that's
the
what
cars
it's all about,
fall
really.
apart. Yeah, I mean, there was one race when I didn't realise that cars could actually kind of just die. Like they get that much damage, they would just stop working. Because until like in the middle of a race, I came around a corner and there was just a wreckage sat there, burning away. So I was like, shit, I had to avoid it. But yeah, then you got the actual like big bowl arenas where it's just last one to survive, and that's just so much fun.
So is this all? It's like an online thing as well, so you can go against like all the people online.
Yeah, but it's. I think the best fun is kind of the offline stuff because it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like it's bad online, right? It's just I kind of like the AI on it. It's not too. Yeah. It's you do get a good challenge out of it as well because I think it took me a few attempts before I won one of them because you kind of have to think about it a little bit and you have to because you can upgrade your cars. And you can upgrade them more for like performance, so they're faster. But you can also add like big steel bars on them and stuff like that, so that they're tougher. And you can kind of like if you know you're just going to be in a race, you're not going to need you can take the weight off from like the steel bars and that. But then when you know you're going into one of the arenas, it's just like stick the heaviest bars on you can and just try and outlast everything. Because you've got. Like in the corner of the screen, you've got like a little image of the car, and the more damage that's taken from like the front, back, or left and right, it goes red, and then eventually
same as Destruction Derby. So
yeah, and eventually that'll disappear, and then your engine and stuff like that will take more damage, and you actually have like a little life bar for the car, and that will start to deplete. And, you start to panic a little bit when it starts hitting like 40, 30, you're like, I'm not going to last here. So sometimes you have to, I didn't realise at first, and then I started seeing other cars driving around backwards. And, it made me, it just made it click. I was like, yeah, because then you protect your engine by going backwards a little bit. And
yeah.
But there are.
It's pretty good AI.
Yeah, then. It's fun. And there are kind of daft elements to it as well because there's a race where you're just in a Reliant Robin, like the 3-wheeler, and basically you've got to get from the back of the grid to the front, but the only thing is the rest of the grid are made up of buses. And when it's on basically like a speedway track and you see just buses smash all over the place, it's just it's ridiculous. And there was
fun.
Yeah, there was a Destruction Derby bit as well. I forget what it's actually called, and it's not called Destruction Derby because obviously that's trademarked somewhere. But there was one of them, but you're all on ride-on mowers. Okay. That it was just ridiculous. But you had live, so it's like if you got wrecked, you then come back and you can try again because. If you hit them from the side, they go flying off. If the actual mower rolls, the person flies off it as well. Mm-hmm. So luckily, it doesn't go the whole hog of like if you drive over them, you're on a mower and gore everywhere. It doesn't go that far, but it is. I don't know. It's just ridiculous, and I enjoyed it a lot more than I expected.
Was it on sale or something? Because I think did it only just come out this year on like PS4, and was it actually released last year?
No, it's not out on consoles till November.
Wow!
It just came. It came out 2 weeks ago, I think it was, on PC. Like it was in early access, and now it's it fully released a couple of weeks ago. I mean. I'm guessing they're just taking the time with the console ones because they didn't just want to, release a broken game early. Mm-hmm. I don't know whether they'll do like they have been with the Xbox games either and releasing them a little bit earlier on the game preview because they've done that with a couple of recent ones. Like I think it was Divinity Original Sin 2. Like you could play like the first 3 hours or something like that. Via this early access, and I'm sure there's another one recently, but I wonder if they'll do something like that with the Xbox version, so you could just at least try it early.
Yeah.
But yeah,
there's quite a lot of races on.
Yeah, there's tons. There's different like levels. So it's like you'll have the first one is like your amateur series, and then like professional series, and they just get more and more difficult as time goes on. But it's always or rather, it doesn't go too far with difficulty. It always feels like a challenge, but you can win. You know, you're not always punished. Like some races, they can be a bit too much. You know, and it's just not that fun. Whereas this one seems quite balanced. So even when I did struggle with a race, I could still get there. You know, I could still win it. But you can also get extra points and XP you get challenges within each race. Some of them are a little bit weird because it's like you've got to wreck like a couple of races or something like that. But in a race, it's quite difficult to wreck others. If you get to the front early on as well, you've got no way of doing it. But they are optional, so it's not like, you know, you miss out or anything. But some of them are.
Yeah, fair enough.
And some of them are simple, like some of them is just win the race or get top 3 or something like that. But then you got others where it's like it's wreck them or cause X amount of damage or spin out like 1 or 2 opponents or something like that. It just adds a little bit extra, I think, rather than it just being a race. You are at least sort of encouraged to, you know, get in there and mess a few people up because, you know, after all, the game's called Wreckfest. You know, it's not a particularly nice race. It's not about etiquette. It's not like Gran Turismo where you actually get etiquette videos.
Yeah. Which is stupid.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's more than one way to the finish line. There's not like 8 paths to travel down, is there?
I feel like I should have got one of these. I feel like I should have done one of these myself, and I'm just not up to the pun masters going on here.
But that went. I don't know if that went straight past Adam because he
I actually got it, and
it was just shock.
I just thought it was shit.
I'm just digesting it.
Do you know what? If you hadn't stolen my spot, I was going to go into. I was going to go into it straight from Incredibles and say, Gary, what was the name of the who made the game again? And he would say Traveller's Tales, and I would try and come up with something funny. But I wasn't witty enough to do that, or quick enough, so now I've just fucked it totally. Let's talk about Octopath Traveler.
Let's talk about Octopath Traveler.
Which is a demo, 3-hour demo on Switch, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the second demo that's been released. The first demo I also played, and I didn't know what to think. It didn't give much. It didn't give much, like, new stuff in these kind of, like, because it's a turn-based RPG game, okay? So that's the side of the game. And I don't think they let the players kind of see it as being something kind of like, oh, I could get really stuck into this in its first demo. So E3 happens, they announce that there's a 3-hour demo going live. And this is literally the game. This is like, you can, these 3 hours will carry over to your full game if you decide to purchase it.
So it's like it's the start of the game, basically.
It is the start of the game.
Okay.
Pretty much. You're let, like, pick whatever character you like, which there is 8 characters, 4 guys, 4 women. And interesting, I just found out a while ago, actually this morning, that each character, the first letter in their name, like all 8 of them, it spells out Octopath, which I never knew.
Oh, smart.
That's quite
cool. Which is kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
So the character I picked was this woman called, I cannot pronounce her name. It's like Hanit, Haanit.
Hanit.
Okay? So each character, this demo does so much for this game. So if anyone's actually really doubting like whether they're going to get this or not, I highly recommend you play this demo. Because it's really generous. So you get to pick any of the 8 characters. I picked this one whose story, she's a huntress from like a woodland region, and she's on a quest to like find her master who like disappeared while trying to kill this fiend called Red Eye. So they give you that synopsis at the very beginning before you choose your character, and I just thought like, I was like, yeah, that seems like my kind of story. I'm into this, you know? And so I picked her, and it starts off like incredibly strong. Now, throughout the demo, you get to like just take off into the land, do your initial quest, but on the map they show you where every other character is, and you can go to that destination, which you have to, like that's just part of the game. And when you reach it, you meet this character, and what's really cool about this, they let you decide, they give you the option to see the character that you haven't picked, their story from the beginning.
Wow.
Which is really interesting considering, because as I was playing this character, the one I have, I wasn't necessarily into the voice acting of her, which is another thing in these kind of games that like comes up a lot in conversation, like how's the voice acting. And it has your typical like cheesiness to it, but she's very like, my character, she's very elegant and she talks very blah blah blah, she's, I don't know, I like her story, but I'm not really gelling yet with her. But as I went on, I met this other character called Cyrus, who is this like professor who he's just really cool. He's a really, like, his story seems really cool, and it becomes like this interesting like framed situation. It becomes kind of gripping in a weird way, which is like something I never really, you don't see all that much in these kind of games. But when you pick them, you can play their story and you can watch the beginning of their cutscene, which I imagine is what it is every time whatever character you pick at the beginning, you're getting the choice to do this regardless of who you picked. And you actually play it out, which is cool. You actually like pretty much are playing nearly every character. And when you finish the opening segment to their story and you're kind of like, so this is it? Now go and just like solve this situation. You can then swap your characters around once they're in your party. So that's kind of a usual thing anyway, but it's kind of nice considering there's 8 characters in this. You want to pick one that you're really attached to, so it's nice that you can change them around. Yeah. Obviously, the first thing like everyone's going to mention is how it looks, and honestly, it's just unbelievable. Like, it just hits all the sweet spots. It reminds me a lot of Final Fantasy VI. Like, everything is just so, it just pops out in this, like, it almost comes like a pop-up book. It has this kind of effect, and that is honestly one of the most addicting parts of the game, because each time you just go into a new area, you just want to see how it looks, because the art is so, like, it's pretty flawless in terms of its like presentation for me personally. Gameplay, very addictive. It has a very similar style to if you have played like Bravely Default and Bravely Second. So it's turn-based, as I said, standard enough, like back and forth fighting, but each turn gives you an extra kind of like, what would you call it, like a boost point or something. I can't remember exactly what it's called in this, but Bravely did the exact same thing where you can build up 5 of them and then say you can just chain it all together. So you can pick a certain move, tap like the bumper button like 5 times, and then you'll get that move done like 5 times. And it's like a big kind of combo chain effect. That's really fun because you kind of don't like that. I remember when I got it in Bravely, I found it very interesting because it's almost like a little mini game in its own right, because you're trying to kind of gamble whether or not you should do this right now. And sometimes like you'll be like, no, I'll build it up to the full 5 slots and then I'll just unleash everything. But that can also be like detrimental to your gameplay because the enemies are so like, as it is a turn-based JRPG style game, the enemies just become so like unpredictable. Like they just unleash this crazy move and you're like, oh fuck, and you're just dead. So that's a cool aspect, but they also brought in the whole element of, if you've played Persona, Persona is the first game that comes to my mind when I think of this, but you have to discover the enemy's weaknesses by doing the move on them. So their name and stuff is on screen, and there's like 5 boxes with question marks, and if you do a lightning attack, it will then like cover up one of the boxes and say, no, it's actually weak to lightning, so you have that down and you've discovered it. So Persona does a very similar thing as well, and that's really fun because you just don't know if you might have the right team and stuff involved. So there's a lot of thinking for such a very like, it's not straightforward. It's just like when you look at the game, you kind of think it's not going to be as deep, but it's incredibly deep. And I got the full 3 hours that literally Like, they flew. Like, I played it in one sitting. And I haven't honestly been so enthralled in a game like this in quite some time. The whole, like, the whole world is cool. The music, oh my god, the music. Like, I don't think these games come up with any bad soundtrack. I don't know what it is, but it's just strings and I'm instantly in, and it's, like, emotional, and it just carries so much. I think all the enemy designs are really cool. I just want to see every other character, and like, I'm so into it. I'm so into it. Like, when it finished, I honestly haven't felt this way in a long time, where I was devastated that the 3 hours were up, because I'm not too sure. Like, it doesn't actually just cut off at 3 hours. It just stops at 3 hours, like your play time when you save. So I don't know. Like, even though I opened up certain side quests within the game during my playtime, I don't know if I do a side quest and go back and save, because every time I save now, it'll just say playtime 3 hours. It's just locked at that. So I don't know if the side quests, if I can play them right now still, that if I go back and save, will it be saved? I'm not too sure if that's the case. But either way, I don't want to take that risk, because I just want to get the full game now. And like, the game isn't out for another like 2 weeks, I think. And I'm itching for it. I honestly think everyone should give this a shot, because it's really refreshing. It's really nice. It's super fantasy. It just, for any Final Fantasy fans out there, like, you have to play it, because it just takes so much from these style of games. I think it's going to be a big surprise for people, because I don't know where it sits with a lot of people. I think, like, even when it was shown at E3, I think everyone was just kind of like, Octopath Traveler, there it is, you know. I don't know where the buzz is for it, but a lot of people who have played the 3 hours I've seen online have been like, holy shit, this is actually like, this is super, super good. So yeah, July 13th, July 13th is when the game comes out, which is like, it's interesting because of a game being so deep and releasing a 3 hour demo that far in advance, you know, like, I'm in. I want it now, and I don't want to forget the elements that I'm learning or the stories that I'm after learning, because that's what happens. Because I've also like started playing Persona 5, because at this, as we said at the beginning, we're now at a time where we're catching up with games, and there's a bit of a gap. So I'm kind of I've jumped into Persona, and I think I might have done this at the wrong time, because I'm not going to finish Persona by July 13th, but I don't want to go off the beaten track either. So I'm going to have these two ginormous JRPGs to get through. But look, I highly recommend this demo. It's free. Give it a shot. If you're into that kind of game, I'd be amazed if you didn't in some way enjoy it. Like, I went in the next day to like EB Games here, and I pre-ordered the collector's edition. Like, I went for it, because I was just like, I want the soundtrack. That's all really I wanted from it, was the soundtrack and the game.
How much was that?
It was $100. It was $100, and it comes with like a pop-up book kind of thing, an art kind of style like book, I suppose. The soundtrack, some other shit, I don't know. But look, the music was so nice. I wanted the soundtrack. It's only like a sampler CD, unfortunately, but it's something, you know, because currently I'm only listening to it on YouTube, like the bits that are taken from the demo. That's all it's uploaded. But I'm into it. I'm really, really into it. I think the fact that it just took out Project and just called it Octopath Traveler, I think the name really is it's really good. It's a really good name for like this style of game. I think there is a massive sense of like, there's a big journey involved in this, and I think like, it's kind of funny how they just took away Project and said, yeah, cool, because it was a bit of a weird name when it first got announced. But once you play it, I think it really kind of sets in its own little thing. And honestly, download it, guys, because I think you'll enjoy it. Give it a shot. It's 3 hours only, and if you're not into the 3 hours, then that's it. You obviously won't be into this kind of game. But I highly recommend it for anyone looking for a new JRPG. This is the right time to get one.
That's you solved that case, mate. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember seeing the pictures and stuff that you were like mentioning, like showing on Twitter and that.
Yeah.
And
it's quite distinctive.
It does look gorgeous. So
it is. It has a lot going for it. A lot more than what the first demo initially delivered. Because the first demo was just like, all you could walk away from the first demo with was, it looks really fucking good. Like, it just visually looks amazing. But there wasn't enough to see. Like, we didn't get a chance to see all these characters, and like the fact this demo lets you just go, and because you can literally go to any character that you like in the world. Like, you're not following some sort of path. So like, you can go anywhere, and that's kind of fun, because I think that's a discussion in its own way, that if we were all playing it, I could be after saying, oh, I'm after meeting Cyrus, have you met him? And you could be like, no, but I've met this person, and I'm really like, there's conversations to be had already from that little element of the games, you know. But I'm super, super excited for it. I hope it gets the attention that it deserves, and I really hope that the game delivers, because even actually a quick thing to say as well before we move on from it is, I think we're in an area with like turn-based games right now that, like, I think it's been there a long time, but I personally don't have patience for the randomized battles, like walking around the world and then you're just like boom. I just don't have like, I've gone back to play, like, I remember like last year I went to play Final Fantasy VII and I was just like, do you know what? I think I can't really play you anymore because it's just too slow. Like, it's just too slow. I don't have the time for it. This has randomized battles. You cannot see the enemy, unfortunately. You will just end up going into a battle, but it's the perfect pace. It gets into it quick enough. You start the battle quick enough, and like, it just rolls really quickly, and that's so fucking important, because if you think back to the old Final Fantasy games, do you remember, like, you'd have those moments where you would attack, the enemy would attack, and then you were just looking at the loading bar going up until it was like the next person's turn. In this as well, with the gameplay, you can see on the top of the screen the what am I going to say, the kind of plan, I suppose, that's going to happen. Like, so you can see that, like, it's like in rounds almost. So there's like your turn, then the enemy gets 2 turns, and then you get a turn, and then we're into the second stage, and it's all mixed up again. So you can kind of like Tetris almost. You can plan in advance of where you think you should go. So they've thought about it, and they've really put in a lot of the old school elements, but like just made them quicker, made them snappier. And I think that helped the game so much, because, as I said, 3 hours, did it in one sitting, didn't feel like it at all. So get it while you can anyway, before you say, because I think a lot of people will be genuinely surprised by it.
Cool. Well, let's move on to the news now. Start off with some sad news. I'm more talking about the one after this, but Sony guys are saying that Fortnite lack of crossplay is down to money. So
bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. According to Joe Smedley, who was a former head of Sony Entertainment Online, the main reason for this is nothing more complicated than money. He tweeted a response to a video on the topic made by Kind of Funny's Greg Miller. He said, by the way, when I was at Sony, the stated reason internally for this was money. They didn't like someone buying something on an Xbox and it being used on a PlayStation. Simple as that. Dumb reason, but there it is. Yeah. So, I was pissed off when I got the Switch version, which I was like so happy with. It was kind of teased before E3, but it finally got announced. Downloaded it, went to log into my Epic account. Couldn't use it on the Switch because it was tied to the PS4. Now, obviously, you can take that off and move it across, but I've been playing on PS4, so all my stuff is via that. So I was pissed off, and this is just frustrating. I don't know how you guys feel, but it's ridiculous that in this day and age, that Microsoft and Nintendo are doing a lot of the Minecraft stuff. They're tweeting each other on Twitter. Their presence online is quite obvious between the two companies, but Sony is staying away from it. It just, I don't know, it's a bit shit, personally. I'm not entirely happy with it.
No,
I think even dodgy. saying money and like bringing money into it, like nobody cares like about that side. I don't know if that's the right thing to say as well. Do you know, it's just down to money. It's like, you fucking have money. Just release the fucking thing. Do you know, just
exactly.
Like, don't say that to us, because like, don't say that to the fans, because that's just going to aggravate people way more. Like,
that's it. So I mean, it's like the whole thing of after all this shit's come about, you know, after the Switch version came out, even though these issues were about long before then, you know, basically if you tied it to PlayStation account, you're screwed. It's stuck there forever. And now they've gone, oh yeah, we're releasing a Fortnite PS4 bundle. And it's like, that kind of feels like it's rubbing salt in the wound. You know, it's like, the worst time to announce something like that is now, when people are all kind of getting on your case about lack of crossplay and your account being locked to your, you know, that one console and nothing else.
Yeah.
It's just, the whole situation, ever since the crossplay thing started with like Minecraft and Rocket League and that, it just seems something's a bit iffy about Sony just saying no, basically it won't happen when everyone else is happy to do it. You know, I remember the initial...
I would really appreciate...
So go on.
I was just going to say, I would really appreciate them just saying something, because it just seems very shady at the minute.
Yeah.
Like, I just wish they'd go, well, actually, this is the reason. And then we'd either be like, oh, fair enough, or, you know, we can moan at it then because we have an official announcement. But the fact that they're just not saying anything, I just think it's a bit...
If you remember when
cheap.
They first announced, like, the Minecraft one, you know, and the Sony said they didn't want to do it because they didn't want to, like, basically, didn't want to basically put out, like, the kids' accounts in danger and stuff like that. And then it's like, but Nintendo are doing it.
Yeah.
And you know, who values, like, the safety of kids and stuff like that more than Nintendo when it comes to, like, gaming companies? It's like, there's just something iffy about the entire situation. And I think Sony need to come out and say something now. They need to actually make a proper statement, because at the minute, people are just getting pissed off.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Other sad news, because this game, like, I was introduced to this by Adam, and it's incredible, but you wouldn't know it, because if you hadn't been around when it came out and the months kind of following, you probably wouldn't even know it existed. So the Friday the 13th isn't getting any more content. I can imagine you're not entirely happy about this, but just a bit gutted that they're not doing anything more with this game, Adam.
Yeah, it's been messy for a long time with the franchise, though.
Legal disputes. Yeah,
it's all, once again, it's money. It's a money situation. It's like, in short, the writer of the first movie, Victor Miller, is like, after kind of like having a situation with the director Sean Cunningham, who Victor Miller's now said, look, the series has made so much. It's made so much, and like, to be honest, he's kind of right in some sense. It's like they've made so much, but he's not getting anything past the first movie, pretty much, I think. So there's something going on there. It just goes further and further, but it's kind of funny because if you have played the game, the character, or even seen Friday the 13th Part 3, the character Shelley, who is like played by like Larry Zerner, I think is his name. He's actually now like an entertainment lawyer, and that's what he does. And he's basically coming out saying like that fans shouldn't be completely like giving out about Victor Miller, because like, you know, he was the writer of the first movie. You know, he basically kind of brought this to life. You know, this is why we are now currently giving out about shit with Friday the 13th. Like, he's an important figure within the franchise. So, but besides so there's a big situation with the movie, but we're here to talk about the game side of it. And like, the game, unfortunately, now, is it Gunpoint that do? Is it Gun Media? Gun Media, I think, is the name of the developer.
Gun Media, yeah.
Yeah. So Gun Media, like, it's basically, there's no more content. Like, it's like the main guy, honcho guy at Gun Media has said straight out, there is nothing coming. Like, not even a rock or a tree is going to be put into this game anymore. Like, it's going to still continue. they're going to fix bugs. They're allowed to do that, but they simply are not allowed to put absolutely anything else into the game, which is such a fucking buzzkill, because a lot of fans are still waiting. Like, it was in the making that Jason X was going to be put into it, which would have been like unbelievable to be walking around as like Space Jason. And there was an
oh god,
yeah, I know, like. Do not get me wrong here. Don't even get me started on that ridiculous movie. But like, in terms of like anything Friday the 13th related, like in a game as well, I want it all. And it's kind of,
they could have done Freddy versus Jason.
What's that?
They could have done like Freddy versus Jason.
Oh Jesus, yeah. But there was a new map coming and stuff, and it kind of sucks because I feel that like Gun Media, as they said when they announced this game originally, they're just like massive fans of the game, or massive fans of the series, and you can clearly see that from like the get-go of this game being released. I remember just like going, yeah, there's a lot of fan service here, and I'm so into it. Yeah, it has its problems, but the fan service was there, and I think it's really disheartening to work, because they have been trying so hard to keep it going and keep it stable and being listening to the fan base and stuff, and now the fact that they're just no more. You can do no more. It's a real shame, because it's a good game, and I think like it's slow. It's definitely slow getting itself together, but there's still people playing it and still people finding fun. And now that there's no more going to be added, I don't really know how long it's going to last, just in general, before Gun Media just come out and say, as of today, we're closing the servers. Because it's just going to get very boring. Like, there's going to be nothing more added to it. Like, that's just going to become boring, because the game is rough around the edges as it is. So, it's a shame. It's really messy, and it's a massive shame.
Yeah. Another bit of news. My mate, AJ Styles, has been announced as Silver Star for WWE 2K19, which, about time. Anyone that knows anything about wrestling will know how big AJ Styles it is, and was before WWE. He's regarded as one of the best in-ring competitors ever. And if you've seen his stuff in Japan or Ring of Honor, even on Impact, like TNA, he's phenomenal, and it's his time, and he deserves it. And that's pretty much it. It's the fact that he was announced, and that the game's coming out early October the 9th or the 7th, something like that. Hopefully we'll see a bit more about it, because for a while the games themselves have been pretty stale. I just feel they're missing something, but you know, they're always improving 2K with the sports game, so hopefully they do something with it. I just think the story mode last year was just terrible.
I think they're rough. I think these games are rough. Like,
they are rough.
I think they are rough. Yeah, we're being very easy on it because of the fact we're into wrestling and stuff. But I just think like, I remember, I'm guessing everyone else was the same, but like when 15 was announced for the PS4, remember, and it was like 2K, and we saw those screenshots of like Cena and his arms and veins, and we were like, holy fucking shit, look how this looks.
Yeah.
The game it's just been so messy, and it's been really dull. It's really dull to play these games, I find. Like, I haven't got near the last two even. I'm just... Nah, I couldn't. Like,
yeah, you couldn't tell them apart. No, to be honest, other than the roster.
Yeah,
like they did like so many NXT wrestlers last year, and there's a wealth of people to choose from. But if they still can't get the gameplay right, it's too slow, and like I don't want it to be arcadey. I appreciate the fact that it's kind of at a pace that the WWE seems to be at, but. It's clunky, and there's still the issue with changing directions or looking at another wrestler if you're in like Elimination Chamber or a triple threat match. It's still difficult to swap who you're looking at. I think they're definitely getting things right. Like the momentum meter's got a lot better over time, and stuff like that. But there's still a long way to go, I think, before it gets to where it is.
Definitely, but like I think the focusing on making the game feel like a wrestling game, or feel like actual wrestling in a sense, I'm like, look, like, don't do that. Like, I don't think that's like you've had a couple of attempts at that now, and it's not great. Like, I remember playing for years. As you said, you don't want it to be arcadey, but like the SmackDown, like 1 and 2, like SmackDown vs. Raw, like
SmackDown,
here
just
comes
bring it.
Here Comes the Pain. All these, they were very, very fun. Like, completely over the top, but there's no harm in 2K just going, let's just deliver it to be over the top. We won't make it as arcadey looking or feely or whatever, but it just needs to be more fun, not sluggish. Like, that's it. Like, it's not as quick as even wrestling is. Do you know what I mean? Like, running getting up on a turnbuckle and stuff. It's all sluggish, and it makes everything just really boring.
Games got it right. I mean, like the old PS1 games where they were really, really fast, at the same sort of paces. Yeah, like the wrestling. Well, I can't speak now because I've not watched it in many years, but like it was always fast paced, and I mean, the last one of these games I played was quite a while ago, but they were still, they felt really slow, and it was almost like they were trying to make it a simulation when you don't really want you don't really want a simulation, because
not at all.
It's not a sport. It's a sport. It's sports entertainment.
Yeah,
and there's absolutely 100% element of sport, because they're trained athletes who have honed their craft for years. But it's still a soap opera. You want the matches to tell a story, and they just don't. They're just flat.
Yeah. I also think as well,
but there you go.
Like playing the games. I've never struggled so much to get on top of a cell. Like in these kind of games, to get.
My God!
It's like, it was not impossible, but like it's so, like, I remember when you play SmackDown or something, like if you played a Hell in a Cell match, it was just throw your opponent through the thing, open knock down a bit of the gate or whatever, climb immediately up, and you just throw them through the center, and it was just, you get all that done within 30 seconds. I'm not saying that's the case, that it should be the case here, but like, fucking hell, like, you could play a Hell in a Cell match and never leave the cell, because it's you'd be trying so hard to get outside of the cell, and you just can't. So
I don't think I've ever seen a Hell in a Cell match where nobody got out of the cell. So it's like,
I know.
right there, they've failed in the simulation.
And also, sorry, the pinning. You need to go back to the way pinning always was, by batting the buttons as much as you can.
Yeah.
Because that gauge is annoying. It's shit. It can end a match. Like, you could be having a few back and forth punches in the ring, and then you get knocked over. He jumps off a top rope and hits you with an elbow drop, and then you're fucking done. Yeah. And it's just frustrating.
Yeah.
But there you go. I'm sure they'll have learned from the mistakes. It'll be a 10 out of 10.
Damn dear.
Maybe not.
Will it be a 10 out of 10 on Switch though?
No, unfortunately not. They should just fucking not bother, because the Switch version was shite. The PlayStation and Xbox versions struggled with so many bugs, and the Switch was just bad.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be, really, because 2K NBA it is really good on the Switch. I still play it. So they can get it right, but for some reason it was just a bit poor.
Yeah.
But no Switch version announced, but that doesn't mean it won't. I think they're just going to see how this one goes for now. They might even be working on it, but who knows?
The last one, it needed like a massive download, didn't it, to even play it, even if you bought the cartridge. So it's if they're going to do a Switch version, I think they need to do something separate. Make it a completely different game.
Some 2K games are doing that. I think the NBA game did the same thing for the Switch.
Yeah.
I think you had to download and have like a big memory card or something.
You did, yeah. It's not great, but yeah, that's the only way you got to play it, unfortunately. So Cassandra's going to be Assassin's Creed Odyssey's canon character.
As she should be.
But this is according to Jonathan Dunmott, who's the creative director. But he's kind of referring to the novel that's being written will focus on Cassandra, whereas the game will be like dependent on how you play it. But we don't know a lot about the story really, but like I think the fact that there are two characters, male and female again, is cool. But like I would really like to just play the game as a female.
Nobody's gonna play as generic dude. Nobody.
No. No.
Why would you?
Because one of the best characters in Origins was the wife. I can't remember her name, and the only reason I can remember Bayek's name is because it was Bayek.
Was it sort of like Aya or something like that?
Yeah, she was like
shout.
she was feisty. She was good. She was a good character. And they sometimes get characters massively wrong, but sometimes they're perfect.
I feel like they've kind of maybe not bottled it, but I think that maybe it should have just been a female lead. For one, I mean, well, maybe not for once because they did it in like a spin-off game or something, but is it Liberation? But it's like, I feel like it should have just been Cassandra is the main character, no choice, but I guess they kind of just didn't want to deviate too much, and maybe because of it feels like it's more of a BioWare game. This one, if you know what I mean, like
do you think so?
Just like in the way, kind of, you've got the dialogue wheels, and there seems to be more of a choice to it. I think
you're right. Yeah, and the upgrade system in Origins is really good. Like you didn't just you didn't just buy a sword and it had better stats. You'd find them as you went, and it felt like a BioWare game in that sense as well. So I'm all for that. Origins completely changed the way Assassin's Creed games are, and if this is a kind of better version of that, or a slightly tweaked version of that, I think it'd be very good.
Just do away with the present day stuff. Get rid of that.
Yeah, please,
please. It's
or just make the fucking game set in the present day and get it out of the way, and then you can just leave it alone and go back to the history.
Because I'm pretty certain like Adam is currently playing Origins at the moment. I think he is, and he's enjoying it. But he said as well that like the present day stuff, it's just ran its course pretty much. And I think it has. I think every single game that every one of us play in the Creed series, we'll always say, "Oh, back to this again." Everyone. Yeah. I think nobody gives it a chance anymore. It's just instantly like, "Oh fuck, here we go now with this thing." But we'll see. I'm well up for it anyway.
Yeah, definitely. There will be no multiplayer in Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice.
Interesting.
Which is obviously from Software's latest game. I'm kind of into this.
Yeah.
The reason for it, in an interview with GameSpot, Yasuhiro Kitao from Software, he basically said that it's because they want to get a very rich, deep kind of gameplay for the single player experience, so they're putting all the focus onto that, which for me I'm fine with. Like, I don't want it to be another Dark Souls, another Bloodborne. I want it to have something different, and it certainly looks different from what we saw at E3. So yeah, I'm absolutely fine with this.
They also said that it's going to be harder than Souls and Bloodborne.
Yeah, that's
so
great,
like if there's no multiplayer and the game is going to be harder, I'm definitely going to be breaking some controllers, lads. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, definitely.
I do think, because one of the issues that the From Software games have is that they are all very similar. It's like, even Bloodborne.
Be careful now, Gary. Be careful here. I know what you're saying.
Hear me out. I'm for once, I'm not going to shit on Bloodborne.
Good.
But like, its gameplay is still Souls. It's just ever so slightly faster, and they added like the regain stuff, but the gameplay itself is still the same. There's not really any difference, and so it's kind of good to see what From Software can do without that restraint. Because I think even with Bloodborne, they were held back by it, and everyone bar me loves Bloodborne, and like, it's one of those things that I still think there could have been more done with it, and I think this is a good thing. I mean, I've seen people who like diehard fans of like Souls games, basically. They're like, oh, I need it to have this or that in it, or where's this, and it's just like, it's a different game. There's no Souls in the name for a start. There's no Bloodborne reference in the name. It's just a new game. You're just going to have to accept that this is something new, and they're either going to deal with it or they won't. But I'm really interested to see what From Software can do away from those series.
I hope they don't make it obnoxiously hard, though.
Oh no, yeah, definitely not. I don't want Ninja Gaiden. Shit.
Because there's a bit of that going around every now and then, you'll have somebody say, "Oh, that's easy though. That Dark Souls 3 is easy and it's easy." And I'm like, it's fucking hard. Like these games are hard. Like they're hard. They're very hard for me, and I don't understand when someone gives out about it not being hard enough. I'm like, that's the weirdest thing ever to say. So I hope that it isn't like, I hope I'll definitely be able to get through it, because I think the likes of Bloodborne, for me, Bloodborne was just, I know your situation, guys, you'll have a different opinion on it, obviously, but for me personally, the gameplay just, it made me learn and understand, and that was like such an amazing feeling. Like I think everyone says that about Bloodborne if they like it. But I hope that like this does the same thing. I hope it just isn't like 5 minutes into the game, next minute there's just this absolute size of a thing in front of me, and it's like one swoop dead, and I'm spending the next week trying to figure out how to beat him. Like, I hope it doesn't do that, because I think Dark Souls 3, that was when I actually kind of was getting far in a game of this style. I was like, oh my god, I'm actually killing people. I can't believe it. It's working. So, but I know 3 was kind of pulled back a small bit. But like, you need that. You need a bit of. It can't be like relentless from the word go. Like, and I feel with the no multiplayer and them saying it's going to be probably harder than Souls and Bloodborne. Like, I'm gonna be in trouble. I'm gonna be in trouble by the sounds of it.
So the Criterion founders have revealed 2 new games, and if you're a Burnout fan, it sounds quite hopeful. EA doesn't seem interested in having Criterion make a new one, but there are a couple of studios who look like they're making games very similar. Three Fields Entertainment, which is led by Criterion founders Fiona Sperry and Alex Ward, have announced Danger Zone 2. Which is a sequel to Danger Zone, the big game that everyone heard of, and Dangerous Driving. Driving.
What is with the names? What is with the names for racing games?
Yeah,
like,
I know.
Dangerous Driving. Game of the year.
Yeah, but it's Dangerous Driving, due out this winter, the closed track competitive racing game featuring boosts, takedowns, destruction, and massive car crashes. So that's basically Burnout. And Danger Zone 2 is a significant step up from the first game, which, again, we all know lots about, which also involves boosting, drifting, a variety of objectives, brand new vehicles, and even more spectacular crashes. So essentially, they're the same game.
The way that was worded, it sounded like a conversation my 7-year-old nephew was having with one of his friends, describing a game that he played last night. That he was over at my house playing a game, and he was just like, massive car crashes.
There you go. What do we think about that?
Well, that's interesting. Fucking day one purchase.
Yeah. Right. So there you go. Another one, quick one. Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Fighters or Fighters Z. I never know what it is.
Is that it?
It's supposed to be Fighters, isn't it? I think
Fighters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Switch release date is September the 28th. Fine.
Cool.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like made for the Switch. It's just another game on the Switch. But just go and play it on PS4. It'll be better.
It'd be nice though for people to play it handheld and stuff if they want. It's
Yeah, it's like any game though, isn't it?
I feel those
like every game in existence will be great to play handheld.
I think Chris has kind of reached his I don't care point now. He's just like just fuck off.
Yeah, mate, I am. Fucking news. Fuck it. God, I wish Adam was here. But last bit. First person mode comes to PUBG Mobile. And is it Sanhok now available in PUBG PC as well? So there's a couple of bits of PUBG news. Gary, you still playing it?
I haven't played for a while, no, but I might boot up the PC one and try out this new map. See what it's like. It sounds like it's good fun. It's a smaller map, so it's aimed at faster games basically.
Yeah.
Your game will be over a lot quicker, and it gets players together a bit more rather than you kind of... I mean, that's shit for me because I'm terrible at the game. I'm the one that hides all the time and just tries to survive till the end rather than killing everyone. But it'd be fun to see what it's like. But it's like it's like a 12 gig update on the PC version. So I was like, okay, I'm not doing that yet then. I'll do that later.
12 gig?
Yeah.
Fucking hell, what's it already at?
I'm not sure actually, but I mean, it's updated like every day. Every time I go to Steam, it's like, here's like it's only like a 25 meg update or something. You know, it's just basic little things. But in a way, it's nice that they are constantly fixing. You know, there's obviously going to still be issues, but it's nice that they are working on it all the time.
Yeah. No, it's true.
But yeah.
I mean, like, I like it when developers are doing this. Because like I've just reviewed Elder Scrolls, and whilst Somerset is very similar, they're still releasing stuff for it. So there are games out there that keep building on. But yeah, it's nice to know publishers don't always forget about the games they've made, or developers even.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Moving on to listener correspondence. So this is from Discord. So Dane, we all know Dane is. He's a good lad. He's asked a question about Dead Space. So I think this is a good time to ask, considering the bundle is currently 81% off on Steam. He'd like to know why we all bang on about it, basically. So the team often brings up the Dead Space series in a very positive way on the podcast. As someone who has never played the series or even watched any footage, can you tell me what makes the series so great, and would the game still hold up well for a newcomer like me?
No.
Who'd like to take the floor?
The first game, yes.
Gary.
The first game was great. The first game had the atmosphere. It was, it had the story. The second game then just started to go, it started to go off the rails a bit.
Yeah.
And it was a bit too much action. So like a lot of the atmosphere was lost. And the third game was basically just Gears of War. So, I'd say that the first game definitely is worth playing. The first game is one of the better horror games of like the last generation.
Yeah, and it came out before Alien Isolation was out, so that fear in space had not existed in any kind of other game, and it brought the best of games like Resident Evil into this enclosure on a ship not so dissimilar to the Nostromo. Like it's fantastic. I think my problem with the other two, they were too actiony, and they got into too like trying to kill too many enemies, that kind of thing. Yeah. I think kind of ruined it a little bit.
I think like 2 gets, as time has gone on, for some reason people are kind of reflecting like not so poorly on 2, but there's a bit of like, it's good, you know what I mean? For me, I thought 2 was an incredibly strong sequel. I thought it was like, there were some moments in that game that were just absolutely horrendous, like in terms of like what was going on, and the locations were amazing, but 1 is the best. Like, we can definitely all agree there. Like as you said, the atmosphere, the tone. I think the story of Isaac Clarke is really fun. It's really well, it's not fucking fun. Jesus, it's far from fun, but it's interesting. And the music. Oh my god, the music is so scary. But it was the gameplay at the time was just so unbelievably satisfying. Getting to slow down these. Like, if you think about it, the enemy design is utterly terrifying, because you had those classic doors that were just like, you'd have to press X, he'll touch it, and then it would kind of load a small bit in the door, and then it would just go and open up, and then you were just greeted by this utterly horrendous thing just running towards you in a frantic manner. You're just freaking out, and then you get to shoot that, I think it's like a stasis kind of thing, slow them down and just blow every limb off. And that was the thing that I liked as well. The fact that it wasn't like, if you shoot off the head, that's not stopping them. You know, it was the whole thing it was about cutting off the limbs. That was how you killed them. And that was an interesting idea that I don't think anyone had done before. No, not at all. And that's what really made the game stand out. And then everyone was kind of going, this is actually amazing. Like, its tone, its story is cool. And I think even down to like upgrading your weapons within it, like, how many games can you really think of like straight away that like, when you upgrade your weapon, you're excited to really give this weapon a go. And Dead Space did that, because throughout Dead Space, majority of weapons you have will have a laser pointer on it, and then when you go and upgrade, and all of a sudden there's 4 laser pointers, you're just like, holy shit, what is this gonna do? And like, there was some mental weapons. Like, do you remember the weapon that like used to shoot out like a chainsaw blade, and it would stay hovering for like, I don't know, about 20 seconds, and you could just move it around and just be slicing into the enemies. It was like unbelievable. And I think two focuses more on story. It gets a bit more actiony. It still holds up being scary. It does hold up and being scary. Like, 1 is dread, 2 is still scary, and then 3 is like the blockbuster. But like, if it's 81% off Steam for all 3, that's a no-brainer. Come on, like, it has like,
definitely
get them straight away, because you will probably agree with us. I think like Dane will say 1 is the best, 2 is the next day. It goes that way, but it's such a, like, I'd nearly buy that. I don't have them on Steam, and I think I'm going to buy them and start them again, because I was hoping they'd announce some sort of like, here's Dead Space remastered or something, even though I don't need it to be remastered. I just want to play it on my PlayStation 4. That's all.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's amazing. Basically.
Yeah, definitely. David Ayres, what game, if any, do you regret what score you gave? Very, very good question. This is. I wouldn't necessarily say I regret any particular score, but I think the way even when I'm not reviewing a game, I can become very, like, if there's one element that's maybe kind of blown me away, I tend to occasionally look past the kind of the shit bits, or the bits they kind of don't do as well. And it takes a lot of time to kind of adapt to a right level of reviewing. I don't know what you think, Gary, but it takes you a while to get used to reviewing games as opposed to just playing them for fun. So there are games which I've given a higher score, and I sometimes wish I haven't. Whereas in the last 6 months, I've found where I need to be, and I know what a bad game is. I know what a good game is. I know what a good game is with having its flaws as well, because things like Sea of Thieves, it's not like, it may not be mechanically the best, but it's a hell of a lot of fun. So it's all about finding that balance for me, I think.
Yeah, because I mean, like, for me, it's been a big learning experience, because I mean, I've been with the site like a year and a half, maybe a bit longer, maybe. So I've been like learning over that period, and I'm finally starting to, you know, like, really get a grasp on things. But I mean, there have been games over like the time, like, where I think I gave it a higher score than it should have, or a lower score. As you may or may not have seen, I've been playing racing games again recently. And they're ones like the big sort of 3 from last year are ones where I think I would change the scores on them now. Like, I mean, Gran Turismo Sport I'd probably leave, because I think I gave that a 9. I gave Forza 7 an 8.5, and Project Cars 2 an 8. I would have Project Cars 2 now as the better of the 3. But do you not think, though, like at the time, like, that is, like, because I think it's very hard to tell. Like, it's basically like you're deciding there and then, okay, I'm going to give this an 8, but maybe in the future it's probably going to be a 6. Yeah. Like, I think at the time the score is the score, and I think you can't really do anything about it. But at that particular moment, if you felt that it was an 8, that you felt like the quality of enjoyment you got was an 8 out of 10 or something, then so be it, because the game mightn't age gracefully, but at the time, that's the way you felt, and I think that's just how it should be picked up on, you know? Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, I think we've touched on this before, where we've said, like, games now, they're almost all early access. Even though they're not, like, buggy or anything like that, it's a case of the games are now improved so much over time that the game release that you're reviewing is nothing like the game 6 months later. You know, like Gran Turismo Sport is a good example, because at the start it didn't have a single player really. Now it's got a full single player mode, like with leagues and everything. So it's like it's a new, you know, it's a completely different game. and I suppose it's really difficult to give a score and then be completely happy with it later on.
Yeah.
It's something you will be. I mean, like, Resident Evil 7, I gave a 10 and I still stand by that. I know others wouldn't give it that high, but I still would, and I've played it through several times. But yeah, then there's other games which I'd probably say could have done with a lower score or whatever. But again, like you say, Adam, it's at the time it felt right.
At the time it felt right, yeah.
And I do think now I can kind of judge it a little better on launch. Like, I know it sounds weird as if I'm predicting the future, but I think I feel less now that I'm getting scores wrong, or I might think differently down the line. Like, I feel like I can judge it a little better.
But you saying that you're getting like you might think you're getting scores wrong, like, that's a good like topic, I think, maybe for another podcast. But like, do you not think now that certain critics, when they're reviewing games, that they're not giving the score? Like, how much of a percentage of critics are actually scoring it on how they felt really through the game? Or are they going, I can't really give this a fucking, like, a 10. Like, like, even though,
I think you're spot on.
Yeah.
Like, even though people are expecting to be 10, like, I can't really, like how many people honestly go in there and go, boom, this is how I felt, this is my score, and whatever about it.
Yeah.
Like, I think a lot of review scores now are becoming, I think we have said this before, but they're becoming very predictable. Like, you see a game, it's coming out, and before there's a conversation, it'll probably just get 10s. And that's really weird, because that shouldn't be the case.
Yeah.
I think everyone has their complete, like, I think some people are conscious about giving their scores out there.
Yeah.
And I think it's ridiculous if that is the case, because you've played the game, like Gary, you don't like Bloodborne. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But like,
you wouldn't think that. I think that are things that I've had said to me.
Well, look, you're still a fuck.
People are throwing bricks through your window.
Whatever. I still fucking hate you, but like, whatever, it's grand.
But I think scores are subjective to games are not scores are subjective. Games are subjective. People will like different things about games.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, if you're going to the score as a fan of a site and you see a score and you think, oh, that's shit, you need to think people like Eurogamer do the review, they don't score it, and I kind of like that, because it forces you to look at the actual words of the review and see why it might not hold up, or why it does, or why it's good, why it's not. I just think people pay too much attention to scores and what that means, and without reading the review, you don't know. Like, Sea of Thieves, I'll go back to it again, but Nicola, I think it was a 6 she gave it, or it might have been a 7, but
I think it was a 7,
she loved it.
Yeah,
she loved the game, but it does have flaws, but
there's
also a lot of good about it. Yeah, and that doesn't mean it's a bad game just because it got a lower score.
It's exactly the same.
9s can have problems, but yeah, it's just, I don't know.
I feel as well though, like, if like putting those kind of scores out there, like, if you truly believe in it, it's only a benefit, because it's showing whoever is a fan of you as a critic is trusting your view, and that's the way it should be. Like Chris, when you reviewed the last was it Shadow of War, like, you gave it a 10. It was like, I'm pretty certain your game of the year, if I'm right in saying that.
Oh, 100%. 100%, yeah.
And you said in one podcast you gave a serious speech on why that game was so good to you, and nobody could do anything else but just go and there's not everyone gave it 10s, but you believed in it, and that is how you felt about it, and that is the way it should be, straight up. I don't think anyone, no one should regret their scores at all.
I think it's natural to be nervous of if you give a certain score, you might be a bit nervous to say, how does mine compare to others? What did others think of it? I think that's natural, but I suppose it's also natural to look back on some games that you thought highly of and they've changed over time, or the opposite. But it's kind of, you pick a score, or you as long as you're putting your views down, and whether it's scored or not, I suppose take the score out of the equation. As long as it's kind of coming across how you feel about the game, positively or negatively, I think that's kind of all that matters. And the whole reviewing thing, I suppose it's hard to get that sometimes.
Yeah, like I think like even when Adam reviewed Detroit, like he gave it a 5 for the site, when everyone else was giving it like 8 and 9s and stuff. And and I'm not just saying it like, but it's when you see so many scores, I always gravitate to that kind of review, like not just saying it because it's Adam and we know him, but like I'm kind of go, okay, there's a 5 out of 10 there. What's going on there? What's that person got to say about it? And that makes it more interesting, like. And it opens up because nobody's saying bad shit, like even if it is bad, or it's really, really weird. It's a really weird thing that's kind of unfolded in a strange way over the years, I think.
Yeah, no, it is.
But look, we're always right anyway, regardless. That's the way it is.
Of course we are. Best site out there. This question is weird because I was watching something last night and I said to my wife, this would make an amazing video game. But what TV show or movie would you like to see a game tie-in for, Adam?
Do you know, I was thinking about this question all night, right? Every single thing I've ever thought of, it's pretty much been a game. Whether it's been on like the NES or something like that, it's been a game. Like I have Friday the 13th, like there's like, I don't know, Mad Max, there's Sopranos, there's like, there's all these things that I think of and there is a game for it. And I literally can't think of anything. Like I can't, genuinely can't think, like there's a Gremlins game. Like I'm literally looking at my arms of tattoos and I'm trying to figure out, there's a Nightmare Before Christmas game? Okay, hang on. I don't know if there's a Clockwork Orange game. I'm going to research that while you're talking.
Oh, I don't think there is.
Jazz? I'm not sure.
There isn't one. So I'm going to say Clockwork Orange.
I suppose maybe a bit predictable for me, but something like Red Dwarf would be quite cool if the right team got hold of it.
There isn't a Red Dwarf game.
I suppose there is actually like I think they did like a mobile
I'll tell you what,
they did like a mobile tie-in for like the recent ones.
It's sad. It doesn't say franchise. It just says what TV show or movie. So it could be, because mine's a game. Well, mine's a film that's in a series. But this, basically, I was watching War of the Planet of the Apes last night.
Oh yeah,
and like it's a proper like epic compared to the other two, where it's essentially a war between two lots of humans, and the apes get stuck in the middle, kind of. But I just thought how cool it would be to be the apes in like a proper like. I know we go back to Rocksteady because they just make great games, but like a Rocksteady kind of game where you play as Caesar. I just think like we've had like I reviewed the VR game, a VR Planet of the Apes game earlier in the year, and whilst it was all right, it's like an experience more than anything. And there was that PlayLink Planet of the Apes game, but like a proper like not open world, but just like a big Planet of the Apes game, like God of War sort of style.
It's a great shout, man, because like. If you think about it, you could make, because of how Caesar is as a character and how much emotion he delivers, like you could make it in the same vein as like The Last of Us, like in that terms of power.
It reminds me of that because of the tone and the kind of broken civilization thing. It's like it's not that far into into the future, is it? Like
no.
Buildings and that still exist, and cars are still around, but they're overgrown with like weeds and stuff in it. Yeah, that'd be amazing. And get Andy Serkis on because he's just the god of everything.
It's an incredible movie.
Incredible. It is, yeah. Really kind of, really moving. Brilliant. It's just the whole series for me is one of the strongest trilogies I've seen. And Woody Harrelson is incredible. He's a real dick.
Hang on.
Yeah.
I actually just thought of one. I have something close to it. Deadly Premonition is the game that's close to it, but an actual proper Twin Peaks game.
Twin Peaks.
I would take that. That is my choice.
What kind of style would you have? Like Deadly Premonition?
Like Deadly Premonition, I suppose.
Like Alan Wake?
Yeah, and just be absolutely off the wall. Like, just make it like super detective-y. Like, I don't know, take the same elements of Ellie Noir or something like that, and you play Dale Cooper, and just like have the dialogue be insane, and have like it be quirky. Oh, it'd be so good, so good.
Yeah. Oh man, that would. Final question has nothing to do with sports, with games. It's about sport, but I'll ask it anyway. Bernard Major at 11122x. Why can't the England national football team score this many goals against other teams? And simple question, they're not good enough. And that's pretty much it for the podcast. It's 2 hours and 22 minutes deep. If you are a Patreon member, but guys, it's been wonderful. Thanks for joining me, Adam and Gary. You can follow us all on Twitter. You can follow the Geek at GodIsGeek. You can follow Gary at BlueFury47, and you can follow Adam Carroll at AdamsOaks, and I'm at First Avenger 83. Thank you guys for joining me.
Absolutely,
Very welcome.
And thank you all listening. Take care and bye bye.